Thought this piece by The Hollywood Reporter was so interesting. It says, how the Rings of Power showrunners came to land the biggest gig on TV. So I was under the impression that the people that ran the show were probably like industry veterans, but it turns out they were first-time TV showrunners. How interesting is that? So basically they did this interview where they kind of dug into everything, all the controversy surrounding the show. I thought this quote was interesting. It says, some of what's been hardest to hear is the cynical point of view that this is a cash grab, Patrick McKay says. It's like, oh my God, the opposite. This is the most earnest production. This is not a paycheck job for anybody. This is a labor of love. They're both big fans of Lord of the Rings. Apparently, Netflix, quote, completely freaked out the Tolkien estate by proposing a Marvel approach to adapting Lord of the Rings, while HBO wanted to remake Peter Jackson's movies. Amazon ultimately won out. Apparently, the competition between the studios was really stiff, and it says, including the likes of the Russo brothers and more. Ultimately, two writers with no previous IMDb credits crafted a winning sales pitch, and yes, it did include speaking Elvish. Apparently, that really won them over. Industry insiders say Amazon is basically betting the fate of the entire studio on the Rings of Power. That is a really intense bet, just like New Line did with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings film, and the quote says, it's too big to lose. Hollywood Reporter quoted them saying, there are things that didn't work as well in season 1 that might have worked better in a smaller show. I've also heard that as well, that one of the big criticisms is like, House of the Dragon is a really contained show with like a few families and a few specific locations, whereas the Rings of Power is like between lots of, all over the world, all over different species. Like it can be a little confusing, and maybe some of these, elements would have worked better if it had been a more contained plot. But apparently season 2 is underway. It says Patrick McKay says the aim of the Rings of Power season 2, which quietly began filming October 3rd at Bray Studios, is to be, quote, bigger and better on, quote, every level. I don't really know how you could be bigger and better than season 1. It's such like a grand production. Also, apparently people were really surprised by the reaction to the House of the Dragon series. But the creators say that what matters most to them is that people are just really digging into it, that they're debating, that they're like having a good time enjoying the experience of watching it. And they've come out and really condemned all of the vile backlash that people have been having against the show. What do you think? Have you been enjoying season 1? I feel like it really picked up with episode 6 especially, and I'm so excited to watch the new episode today.